right, so we can cool here with Jim McCarty. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Yeah, I've been over a few days. I'm in Rhode Island at the moment. I'm driving down to New Jersey today, and we're rehearsing tomorrow. We start for a couple of days rehearsal.
Are you excited about the tour?
Yeah. We start the tour on Thursday in Connecticut.
Now, you've been doing this for 56 years as part of the Yardbirds.
Yes, but it's slowing down rather. Yeah, I mean, it was full on in the 60s, and it's gradually slowed down. So I don't do that many dates a year. I have a lot of time off, and just doing a tour like this 2 or 3 weeks is enough for me now and then. And I enjoy it. Otherwise, it would be too much.
Now, you're the original member of the band. You're the only original member band left. Why is it so important for you to keep the band going?
Good question. I'm not quite sure about that. Probably because I always loved the repertoire and I love to play it. I like the fact that people like to see us. They have a good night. It's a good band to play with. I enjoy the musicians. They're all American, but they certainly know the music inside out, and they're very experienced, and they've lived through the music. They've got Yardbirds in their blood, really, and played Yardbird songs probably in their early bands when they started out. And they're very honourable to the name and to the music, and it's a very strong repertoire.
How do you go about picking out the members for the band?
Usually personal recommendation from people I know. The guitar player this time is someone I've only been recommended to. I've never worked with him before. A guy called Godfrey Townsend. He's got a very good CV. He's worked with many good people. He's a very nice guy, and people seem to like him. And hopefully, he's going to work out. I'm sure he will. These things normally work.
Now, I mean, this is a band that you've had so many members and so many famous members throughout the years.
Well, yeah, that's true. I suppose it set a high standard from square one. When we had Eric in the band, and all the guitar players had to live up to that to start. And we were lucky because all those guys they were relatively local guys. We all lived in the same part of Surrey, which is just outside London. And we were all sort of friends, and we used to hang out in the same places, same pubs, and go and see the same bands.
Now, one story I want to talk to you about is the time that you guys went and seen Jake Holmes in New York City, and you heard him play Dazed and Confused for the first time.
Yes. That was later in our career. We had the Jimmy Page lineup, the 4-piece, Jimmy, Keith, Chris, and myself. And it wasn't a great time for us creating new songs. We didn't have the same sort of creative impetus in the band as we used to have when we had Paul Smith and Jeff Beck. We weren't producing any really great original songs. And I guess our ears were open for songs that we could cover. And I saw this guy, Jake Holmes was on, and I went and listened at the side of the stage, and it was a sort of very jazzy, sort of folky set he played. And then he played this song with this sort of descending guitar riff going down. And I thought, well, this sounds very moody. This is quite different to his other songs. It was moody and interesting, and it had a nice sort of feel to it, nice lyrics. So I went down to Greenwich Village the next day, and when I bought his album, and presented it to the band, I said, well, this song is something that we can try out, and so we did, and the rest is history, so they say.
Now, that was towards the first end of the band, is that correct? That's almost when the band turned into Led Zeppelin?
Yes, that would have been, probably 67 I'm talking about now, because we did play that song a few times before we actually broke up in 68. 68 we broke up, and Jimmy Page and Chris were going to carry on with the Yardbirds. There was a tour booked, a couple of tours booked, and they were going to call themselves the New Yardbirds. And Chris got sort of shunted out somewhere along the line in favour of John Paul Jones, one of Jimmy's session musician friends, great player. And he found the other two guys up in a band playing in Birmingham, in England. And, they put the band together. It was a great band, and they eventually changed the name to the Zeppelin.
Did you ever see them when they first started out? Did you ever go and check the band out?
I never did. I guess I was a bit sort of anti blues or anti-music at that time. I sort of had enough, and we've been playing around the scenes around the world for a few years, really full on, playing almost every night of the week. We never had any breaks, and we were doing interviews as well, and photo sessions, and recording sessions, and it was the case was that all the money we earned was really from live shows. There was no big record royalties for us in those days, or that was all our money. So we were sort of pressed to do more and more shows. And it got to be too much in the end, and we just didn't know where we were. So Keith and I decided to leave, and eventually we formed Renaissance.
Now, isn't that ironic that the fact that you guys made your money from touring, and that's how bands have to make their living nowadays, because they're not making money from selling albums?
It's very odd. It's a shame, because we missed out that big period of time, the 70s and 80s, when the album sales really were selling big, and there was an awful lot of money made on the royalties, and we completely missed that. And we reformed at a time when, as you say, it's back to playing live.
Now, you've done some touring, throughout the years with some major acts. You guys even played with the Beatles for some time, is that right?
Yeah, we did. We played at their Christmas show in London in 1964. We did another show with them in Paris. That was 65. They were fun to play with, and we toured with the Rolling Stones, toured with the Kinks, played, on the same bill as the Who. So, we sort of knew how good all these bands were.
Well, you're definitely one of those bands. You're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You're part of the top 100 bands of all time.
Yeah. That was something we never knew was going to happen. We just started out playing blues covers. We loved the blues music. We heard the black music coming out of the US, and it was exciting. And from there we wanted to make it a bit different. So it was really with the Jeff Beck lineup that we suddenly, were adopted as those sort of psychedelic bands, so they called us, and we were really just trying to make the music a bit different, a bit original.
Now, when you're touring now, do you have people coming up to you just telling you stories of when they've seen you in the past and things like that?
Oh yeah, quite a lot, yeah. Usually there's somebody there every night that's seen us, but at least one person that's seen us somewhere and said, "Oh, do you remember that gig in the 60s somewhere?" somewhere or other I came to that one, and sometimes I remember them and sometimes I don't. But yeah, it's interesting how people still come out after all that time.
Well, I mean, it's got to be an amazing feeling to know that you've been with them for how many years of their lives.
I know. It's nice. It's very gratifying, and that's, I suppose part of the reason it keeps me going.
Now, how do you decide the set list when you're out playing? I mean, you guys have been around for so many years. You gotta.
Well, it's very difficult to know what to leave out because you can only play. We can only play sort of 90 minutes or whatever it is, and then we have to leave some songs out. And sometimes we're leaving out hit songs, which we can't play them all. But we sort of we have a pretty solid set list, which is the main hit, the main hits and a couple of sort of good blues covers like Train Kept Rolling or something like that we as part of one of our classic Yardbird songs. And then we might bring in a couple here and there and leave a couple out. So that's a difficult decision.
Now, do you ever get any surprise guests to pop up with you on the stage every now and then? I mean, you've had so many different guys that played with you throughout the years.
We haven't had one for a while. I'm trying to think. What do you mean of the old Yardbirds?
Yes.
No, we haven't done that for a long time, I must say. The last person I was really close to was Jimmy, because recently we put out an old album live at the Anderson Theatre in New York that he remixed and put that out again as the Yardbird 68, and we all got together and chose photos and went through the artwork and all that stuff, and it was nice to work with him, and if anybody would play, it would probably be him, but he seems to be doing a lot of admin these days.
Now, to all the years of touring and different shows, what sticks out the most in your head? What was the one show that was like, I just can't believe we just did this?
Well, there's a few. The night of the induction into the Hall of Fame was good. That was great, even though we didn't really play. But we played a couple of shows. We played one show when we were on tour with the Rolling Stones in Wales, in Cardiff, and it was one of those gigs with Jeff and Jimmy, both playing lead guitar. And one of the times they really played well. I thought they always played well, but it didn't always work. Sometimes it was a bit too much. But this time it was great, and we went on right before the Stones, and then the crowd sort of wouldn't let us off at the end, which was great for us, but not so good for the Stones. But it was one of those magic shows where it all clicked, and Jeff and Jimmy really went for it. I remember that, but it wasn't always like that with those two. Sometimes it was a bit difficult.
No, you said with this tour you're only going to play for about 2 weeks. Is that what you're saying?
We're going on till the end of the month, and then we're playing on the Flower Power cruise just for a few days, which we get on at Puerto Rico and go down to Fort Lauderdale. We're playing a couple of shows on that, and we've done that before. That was good fun. And then back home.
Now, do you play shows in England or no?
We haven't done many actually. It's the problem of getting the guys over, But we are playing in a tour in Germany in November.
Okay.
And you never know, we might stop off and play a British date, or it would be nice because some of the UK tours I've done recently have been great. You know, fabulous venues and you know, really good crowds, and they've loved it. You know, playing with bands like the Zombies and the Animals. It would be nice to do one of those again, but it's always a cost-effective exercise. It's always a question of the money in the end.
Now, you just mentioned playing with the Animals. When you guys reformed, it was actually the show that was the reformation of the Animals, too. Is that correct?
Well, it was the different Animals. It wasn't Eric Burden. It was just Hilton Valentine and John Steele, and they had some other sidemen with them, and they were good. They played all the hits, and we did a couple of tours with them and played a few other festivals. But it wasn't the original Eric Burden lineup.
Now, what do you do on your downtime when you're not touring or you have anything going on? What keeps you active?
Well, I live down in France. I live in a quiet little village down south. I like to go out into nature and walk around. Might play a bit of tennis or something. I like to write my own songs. I do my own albums, solo albums. I had one out last year called Walking in the Wildland. And, life is quite quiet, quite different to being on the road here.
Now, do you play any of your original music when you're doing the Yardbird stuff, not the Dublin tours?
Well, that's the plan. We might stick one in on this tour. We'll see how it goes down. My music is a bit different from the album. It's not sort of quite so rocky, but we might do. And with this new lineup, we might maybe we'll create some new material. Who knows?
Really, that'd be interesting to see.
Yes.
Now, when you're writing new music, do you always keep something aside that you think that might go good with the Yardbirds? Do you have stuff in mind that you've already written, or?
Well, there's some overlaps. I must say, there's some songs that I do that might work in a heavier way. There's room for sort of flexibility and playing them like a different. We've done that before on the Birdland album. A couple of those original songs, the one in 2003. A couple of those songs had been like on different solo albums I'd done before, and we played them in a different arrangement and made them a bit heavier, and that worked quite well.
Great. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you. You guys are going to be here in Buffalo on the 22nd at the Trough Music Hall. People want to follow up with you. They want to know more about the band. They want to know the shows. Go right to the yardbirds.com. Is that the best place?
Yeah, the yardbirds.com. That's my site. JamesMcCarty.com or JimMcCarty.co.uk, and there's Facebook pages, Jim McCarty or Yardbirds official and authorized, and there's lots on the social media.
Do you stay active on social media yourself?
Say that again, do I?
Do you stay active on social media yourself? Do you take part in Facebook and Twitter and all that nonsense?
A little bit, not Twitter, but a bit on Facebook, but not too much. I just sort of have a look and see what's happening, but I don't like posting on Facebook unless I've got something interesting to say, rather than what I had for lunch today or something. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
If I've got a nice photo of me somewhere in Hawaii or somewhere exotic, I'll put that on, or if there's something nice happening, I'll put that on. But otherwise, I'll leave it.
So we're not going to find out what lunch was today, then, huh? Well, I thank you so much for your time. It's been a great chat with you, and like I said, I can't wait to catch you on tour.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I look forward to that gig. I like Buffalo. It's a nice place.
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.